Good day, grade 5. Welcome to our science class. I am teacher Joey, your virtual teacher for today. Today class, we will travel to another lesson in science. I know and I am sure that you are all excited for another fun-filled learning activities for today. So let us now begin. But wait class, before we start our discussion, try to find a nice and comfortable place inside your home where you can focus with your lesson. I want you to prepare yourself as well as your materials necessary for your study. Kindly bring out your pen and paper so that you could jot down some important notes needed for your learning. Always remember class that having knowledge is having a power.
For today's lesson class, we are going to discuss about the reproductive parts of the flower and their functions. So last meeting, we discussed about the mode of reproduction in animals. These are the sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. And under the sexual reproduction, we have internal fertilization and external fertilization. And under these internal fertilizations, we have two ways on how they give birth on their offspring. We have born alive and we have hatched from eggs. And under external fertilization, we have hatched from eggs. So on the other side, sexual reproduction, we have three ways or a process on how they reproduce. We have what you call budding, we have regeneration, and we have parthenogenesis. I know class that you can see plants everywhere, and you know that plants live everywhere. As you can observe class, plants differ in size, in shape, in color, in smell, and even their mode of reproduction. Like animals, plants need to continuously reproduce themselves to sustain their species. Some reproduce through their seed, while some utilize other plant parts. So in this module, you will learn more about the reproductive plant parts and their functions. Specifically in this lesson, is intended for you to describe the reproductive parts in plants and their functions, describe the mode of reproduction in flowering plant. Because of the global pandemic, people remain self-quarantined in their respective houses, which lead them for the interest in planting plants and a way to feel better because of what happening. That is why people may call to them as plantito, plantita, plant liner, and halamam. So this time, let's have a short activity or an opening activity. And all you have to do now is to arrange the jumbled letters to form a word that best describe in each sentence. So for the first one is this: it contains chlorophyll that is essential in photosynthesis. So what is that? So what parts of a flower is that, or what part of a plant is that? Okay, that is the leaves. Next one, anchoring of the plant body to the ground. You have any idea now? This is root. Okay, next one. It distributes the nutrients and minerals all the way from the plant to the leaves. What is that? Okay, very good. That is stem. Next number. This underground part plays very important role because it absorbs water and inorganic nutrients. What is this? This is root. Another one. It is the colorful part of plant that attract insects during pollination. Okay, that is flower. So a plant is made up of different parts: the roots, the leaves, the stem, and the flower. Each part has a set of jobs to do to make the plant healthy, as plants play a very important role in our environment. So it is to our benefit to understand more about how they work and how they work and how they reproduce. So let's now proceed to the reproductive parts of the flower and their functions. So we have a trivia here. According to biblical stories, there was a white rose that grew in the Garden of Eden and turned red as it blushed with shame upon Adam and Eve's fall from grace. So this time, let's now watch these videos about the reproductive parts and functions of a flower.
Today's lesson is all about the parts of the flower, specifically the male and the female reproductive part of the flower. First, let's talk about the sepals. These are the sepals. Sepals are the green leaf-like structure located at the lower part of the flower. It protects the developing flower, which we call the bud. Next, we have the petals. These are the petals. The petals are the most visible and usually colorful part of the flower, and the group of petals are called corolla. They enclose the reproductive parts of the flower, that is called the pistil and the stamen. Stamen. These are the stamen. Stamen is the male organ of the flower. It is composed of the anther and the filament. Anther consists of two lobes that contain the pollen sacs, while the filament holds the anther. And now, let's move on to the pistil. Pistil is the female organ of the flower. It is made up of the stigma, the style, and the ovary. Inside the ovary are the ovules. The stigma receives the pollen grains during pollination. Style is the long, sticky, slender tube that connects the stigma to the ovary. Ovary enclose the basal portion of the pistil, which contains the ovules. And now, let us talk about the accessory parts of the flower, which are the receptacle and the peduncle. Receptacle are also known as the pedicel and the flower stalk itself, while the peduncle is part of the stalk bearing the floral organs. Flowers have social, religious, aesthetic, ornamental, and cultural value. We use them as ornamentals to beautify our surroundings. Flowers are also present during some social and religious celebrations, just like wedding ceremony, christening, funerals. Just think of your mother's celebrating her birthday or visiting a loved one in the hospital. We try to uplift up their spirits by bringing them flowers. On Valentine's Day, we give flowers to our loved ones. We may think of some remarkable effects of flowers in our lives. But today, you will come to know the flowers as the essential reproductive organs of the plants.
So aside from that, there are also types of flowers according or depending on the parts present. We have complete flower and incomplete flower. When we say complete flower, Complete flower has all the 4 parts such as the sepals, petals, pistils, and the stamens. While incomplete flower has only one of the 4 parts missing. We have also types of flower depending on the presence or absence of the reproductive parts. We have perfect flower and imperfect flower. Imperfect flower has both the male and female reproductive organs present, while in imperfect flower is a flower missing either the male or the female reproductive organs. So I have a question now. What are flowers? So flowers are the reproductive structure of the flowering plant. Also, flowers are the essential reproductive organs of plants. So flowers, almost 90% of the species in the plant kingdom are flowering plants. Flowering plants are called as angiosperm. The flowers are the most distinctive features of this. Flowers' claws have these what you call important functions. We have to ensure fertilization of the egg cell within the ovule and to help in the development of the ovary into a fruit that contains the seed. So we have another question here. What are the parts of the flower? Next one, what are the reproductive parts of the flower? And what are the accessory parts of the flower? So let's proceed first for the first question. What are the parts of the flower? We have the pistil. So we have the stamen, we have the petals, we have the sepals, we have the receptacle, and we have the peduncle. So another question here is that what are the reproductive parts of the flower? So the reproductive parts of the flower is the pistil. Under the pistil, we have the stigma, the style, the ovary, and the ovule. We have also what you call the stamen, that compose of the anther and the filament. Next question is that what are the accessory parts? So we have 2 accessory parts. We have the receptacle, that is receptacle, and we have the peduncle, and this is the peduncle. Okay, let's take it one by one again. The flower parts and their functions. We have number 1, we have the sepals. And this is the sepals. Ayan. Okay, are the outermost green leaf-like structures located at the lowest part of the flower. Aside from that, sepals collectively called calyx. So pag marami yan, collectively, that is called the calyx. So it protects the developing flower, which we call the bud, and the other parts of the flower. So number 2, we have the petals. These are the petals. Ang tawag pag maraming petals, that is corolla. So, are modified leaves and the most visible and usually colorful parts of the flower that attract insects and birds. The group of petals forms the corolla. They enclose the reproductive parts of the flower, which is the pistil and the stamen. So, ano kaya dyan yung male, alin kaya dyan ang male reproductive part? It is the pistil or the stamen. So, we will see it. So, we have the stamen. So, where's the stamen there? So, that is the stamen. So, stamen, okay, that's the closer view of the stamen. So, is the male organ of the flower. So, take note of that. The stamen is the male organ. It is composed of 2 parts. We have the anther and the filament. Asan kaya dyan si anther, si filament? So, si anther, ayan, the closer part. we have the anther. The anther consists of the lobes that contains the pollen sacs. And then the filament holds the anther in a position full enough to release the pollen. So that is the anther and the filament. Next, we have the pistil. So that is the pistil. So is the female organ of the flower. It is made up of 3 parts: the stigma, the style, and the ovary. So let's take another closer look about this pistil. Okay, the stigma, tip of the pistil that receives the pollen grains during pollination. We have also the style, is the long, sticky, slender tube connects the stigma to the ovary. And we have the ovary, is the enlarged basal portion of the pistil which contains the ovules. So yun definitely yung ovules yung nasa pinakalooban ng ovary. So we have number 5, the accessory parts, which is the receptacle. So that is the receptacle. So also known as the pedicel, is the flower stalk itself. Next, we have peduncle. This is the peduncle, found at the base of the flower. Is a part of the stalk bearing the floral organs. So now, what role do bees play in the life of plants? So bees serves as agents of pollination in plants. Why do you think flowers have different colors or scent? The different colors or scents of the flower help them attract pollinators. How are we going to take care the plants or the flowers? So water them, spray insecticides if needed, and cultivate them. So what will you do if you see your friend picking the flowers at the park even if it's prohibited? What are you gonna do? So this time, let's now answer the following questions. All you have to do is to read each of the numbered items carefully, then choose the letter of the correct answer. Good luck!